Good morning, everybody. It is November the 29th, 2017, 9:23 a.m., Las Vegas. I've got a lot coming up, a lot going down, and a lot of reasons to look up. We're headed into another Mercury retrograde, the last one for this year. It begins on December the 3rd and ends on December the 22nd, right after the solstice. Mercury moving into Sagittarius and then backing up into Scorpio. Excuse me. I'm putting this out a few days early because what we've been going through for the past few days and then the rest of this week is what we're going to experience in the Mercury retrograde as far as commerce, intellect, communication, and travel is concerned. It's going to be a review, just like it always is, and it's going to be a review of what we're experiencing right now. It's like test time. It's that pop quiz. A lot going on this month of December coming up. All of this began for me with having these symbolic visions I wasn't able to interpret until I began living it. I was living the interpretation, and this was back in 2010, and now this is the end of it. It lasts through 2017, and to me it was like this is the end of grace. We're fixing to step into a lot of changes in 2018. To me, that is the event horizon, that point of no return. There's no going back. It's signed, sealed, and delivered. So expect a lot of changes next year. Everybody needs to pick up their cross and see where they stand. I try to give these to you to empower you, to give you back, to know thyself, to give you back your identities. We can look up and we can look within. I have talked about there's a zodiac over our head and there's a zodiac in our head. Actually, to me, we have two, because as above, so below, and that is in the human body as well. What we have goes on in our brain is replicated in our reproductive systems. The symbols are the same. The terminology is the same. That's why you have the Kundalini rise from that base to the upper house. It can also rise from the heart to the upper house. There are two sources. One's physical, the other one is spiritual. There are two ways to manifest this. To me, the age of knowing that we're coming into is all about just that. It is about the pineal gland. It is about knowing thyself. It's finally coming out of the confusion at the bottom of that cross. I'd like to talk about Venus fixing to move into Scorpio and Mars moving into Libra. They will be in each other's houses. Sometimes that is volatile. Other times it is, let me see if I can say this word correctly, reconciliatory, where you can reconcile differences, almost like a time of healing. It's her looking at his point of view and him looking at her point of view. Sometimes it's like that Mars-Venus conjunction, to where you have this war going on, but then what they call great makeup sex, because everybody will be moving into Scorpio at that point. The house of passion over here in water. Everything is going to come into Scorpio during December and merging over into this fire sign of ideology we've been talking so much about, because this is truly what's going on, especially with the collective consciousness is going to be pushing a lot of this, because Pluto is going to be in the mix. Pluto there driving that transformation of the subconscious where ideology is concerned. Saturn moving there to make sure the job gets done. Mercury going retrograde, but coming back right before Christmas with a very loud voice of that philosopher and ideology. And this can also be ego as well, because it's attached to that fire of that lion and Aries. This is fire in the mind. This is ruled by Jupiter, and Saturn's going to be in that house. So we're all going to be asked to check what you believe, why you believe it, get rid of what's not serving you with Pluto over here. If you don't do this work, you will end up manifesting your frickin' monsters of the id. This is why Pluto is here now, because when it comes into cardinal Earth, which is feminine, it is a manifestation point. But this is the fire of the mind, and Pluto there to burn out all that bad programming that we've had embedded in our subconscious from childhood. Mars conjunct Spica today, the undefended one. Be careful with your actions. This is about the only point in mutable Earth that Mars would have a problem. Its actions that it's taken up to this point is kind of like payday now. You have to pay for what you've done. It's time to fess up, pay up, all of that, so that Mars can proceed. Uranus still in Pisces, that mutable cross, that mutable water, it's going to affect everything that goes on over here in mutable Earth and Scorpio being that water. So a lot of outer transformation happening, especially those of you who are Piscean. Water signs are mutable signs, and this is about the age we live in. The age that we live in is transforming. The church is transforming. Religion is transforming. Intuition and mysticism is transforming. It's recreating itself and reinventing itself to try to survive in the age we're stepping into. And with Taurus entering the summer solstice, we are there. I can see now why 2017 was the date, was the end of it. It was like the last chance to get on the train, because Taurus entered that position on the summer solstice to make this wheel finally turn and push Aquarius into the spring equinox. I need to do a video on exalted and debilitated planets. I'm getting a lot of messages this morning. I did just want to hit on that Mercury retrograde coming up. Don't sign any contracts. Don't enter into any negotiations. Try not to travel if you don't have to. If you do, be extremely over-prepared. Be very careful what you say. It will come back to bite you. You will be misunderstood. Avoid anything that you would consider important. I mean, even little tiny little scuffs can escalate way out of hand. But keeping in mind, this is a review. We can channel this energy properly. How do we do that? Going back and doing things that have not been finished. You got any letters or emails you have been putting on the back burner you should have done? Mercury retrograde is a perfect time to do it. It's looking back. It's reviewing and picking up those lost communications. Mercury deals with intellect, so is there a book you need to finish? A paper you need to write? Those of you that are in college and in school, you need to go back and review that work and maybe rewrite. It's a great time for editing. As far as travel is concerned, it can be anything from a flat tire to getting lost, directions, ended up in the wrong place, and then just a bad reason for travel. You can have a great travel experience, but then the reason that you chose to do that travel could come back to bite you if you don't channel this energy properly. And Mercury in water, in passion, you look at the characteristics of Scorpio, you look at what's transpired in the last few days and in the next few days to come, and it'll give you a general idea of how you need to deal with that. It's already telling you. It's talking to you now in these days, and because that's it, it's going to review itself through these few days we're in right now. Almost a repeat. It's like going back and taking a second look. We missed something. We're reviewing something that has to do with commerce, travel, intellect, and communications. So better to channel the energy, harness it, and use it to your advantage than let it take advantage of you. The sun will be conjunct Antares on that fixed cross. Venus loves being in her house with Jupiter. Jupiter is exalted in Pisces, and has felt that, exalted in Cancer, not Pisces, which is that water house down there, to where Saturn, opposite Saturn's house, they always exalt opposite each other's house. Saturn is exalted here in Libra. Speaking of that serpent on the pole, and somebody did ask me about that. What was the Saturn connection? Well, Saturn rules all air signs, but Saturn is exalted in Libra. So when you look up at that bronzed serpent on the pole, Jupiter don't have a hard time here, really. But if Saturn was up in this house, Jupiter wouldn't stand a chance. And right now, they're kind of moving into each other's houses, because Saturn is indeed exalted here, and Sagittarius is Jupiter's house. So it's like they trade places. But for right now, for the next few days, until Mercury goes retrograde, it is in the sign of the philosopher. So there's a lot of talk about ideologies and beliefs. This has to do with groupthink. This is the big picture. Collective thought. Organizations, religions, churches, cults, even parties. You have ideology in different political parties. All of that's coming into check. All of that's going to ask you, especially with Pluto there, to dig deep. This is not surface. This is embedded. Why am I voting for the political party I'm voting for? What programming in me makes my ideology such. And every bit of it's coming into check. As soon as Mercury gets out of this retrograde and moves back into Sagittarius at the end of December, all of that will become clear. I'm getting hiccups again. This keeps happening to me. I never get hiccups, and every time I've done a video lately, I've had to stop and drink water. I haven't had hiccups in years, and they seem to be overtaking me lately. I need to look into that, because that is Mercury. That's part of that throat chakra. There has to be more to it. Everything is speaking to us all the time if we'll listen to it. The zodiac and the heavens speaking the loudest. They scream at you if you can hear them. And that's what I hope all of you do with these charts that I'm giving you, is that you take them and empower yourself to become the best that the chart says you can be. And this is about apotheosis. This is about taking up your cross, whether it's mutable, cardinal, or fixed, and following that fixed cross. Following Fomalhaut. In the New Testament, they called Jesus Rabbi, teacher, master. Rabbi means teacher. We were given it in the Greek, but they spoke Aramaic in their tongue, and teacher literally is Thalam. So in all actuality, had that New Testament been given to us out of the Arabic, we would not have gotten the word rabbi. We would have gotten the word Thalam. So now you know who all the rabbis emulate and why it's about Saturn. But they wear black. This is red. But truly they are one sign, as we're coming to see. And I love this depiction here, what they've done with all the new ones, because we've got Toucan Sam in here. We have a microscope here. You know, this is new. This is from, they didn't have microscopes in ancient technology. But here's our Native American upside down. They put him in. Do you see this? And it's called Persian. Let's see if I can get that to swing around here. I don't want to. A lot of new images coming up on Stellarium. We're going to have to go through this, because we got another serpent down there. But Toucan Sam, anybody got your Fruity Loops? And it is in the lower house of Aquarius. And then that looks like a crane. So they are indeed changing our zodiac. I love all the new stuff, though. It is information. It is the unveiling. This here's a sextant. That's what you use to measure the heavens. The Holy Grail, the Raven. Here's a new one, the new fire cauldron down there. Very interesting symbology starting to come out. Of course, that looks like an alchemist table, a little hot, what do you call it, a kettle stove, cast iron stove, but it has the beaker on it for the chemist, the great alchemist. That will be Saturn in Aquarius. Okay, just wanted to make this short. Heads up, Mercury retrograde coming up. Be prepared for it. Pay attention now, because these are the days that will be repeating as we enter that on the 3rd next week. And don't forget to commit that random act of kindness every single opportunity you get. Bank that karma. With 2018 coming in, there's going to be a lot of shaking going on. Everything's going to get shaken up, and that's going to start with this Pluto, Mercury, Saturn, all in Sagittarius at the end of this year, putting everybody's ideologies into check and under that big collective consciousness